Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Thanks for being with us today. I am Quinn Wisson from Vertical Measures, and I am here hosting VM's monthly webinar series. Today's webinar is titled Why Content Marketing is Failing and How to Save It, and will be presented by Tim Ash. Tim is the CEO of SiteTuners and author of the best-selling book, Landing Page Optimization. He's a computer scientist and cognitive scientist by education, and he's also an expert on user-centered design, understanding online behavior, and landing page testing. He's also a chair of the International Conversion Conference, which we're actually excited to be a part of coming up in May in Vegas. I know Arnie Ken, our CEO, will be speaking there. So before we get started and I hand over the presentation, I have a couple of housekeeping items to note. Today's webinar will be available for viewing by tomorrow, and we will go ahead and send everyone an email with a link so you can watch it and also review the slides. We'll also be happy to answer any of your questions, so if you take a peek at your webinar interface, you'll see a little question applet where you can send anything you'd like me to ask Tim at the end of his presentation. Also, you can follow along on Twitter, ask questions there, or just tweet along using the hashtag VMWebinar. If you're having any technical problems, usually the best thing to do is just sign off and sign back in, and usually that fixes things. So I think those are all my notes. I will go ahead and hand it off to our very special guest, Tim Ash.
Well, thank you, Quinn. What a great introduction. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or evening, I suppose, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to, if you know what I usually speak about, conversion rate optimization, I'm going to give a little bit of a contrarian view on content marketing today. Everybody says content is king, and I know that Vertical Measures, for a fact, does fantastic content marketing. But I think our approach to it is all wrong. So I'm going to try to point that out today and stimulate some discussion, hopefully, at the end. So please, please, please make yourselves heard on the hashtag VMWebinar. And also, in your question and answer pane, go ahead and type in questions as we go along or challenge me on what I'm saying. I'd love to have a discussion at the end about it. So without further ado, I'm going to get rolling here. I want to tell you first a little bit about SiteTuners, but before I do that, I want to wish everyone, like Quinn did, a happy St. Patrick's Day. That's a very recent picture of me. Wearing green, you can't pinch me, even through the monitor. Let me give you a little quick background about SiteTuners so you understand our perspective, and then I'll get right into the content. SiteTuners is a strategic optimization agency. We have offices only where palm trees grow, San Diego and Tampa, Florida. And we work with mid-size and large companies across all industries, really all over the world. And we have one mission, and that is to make your business more money by making the online part of it more efficient. And do that through a variety of means. But one of the keys to what we do is we really don't want you to rely on us. Within a couple of years, all of our clients with ongoing engagements graduate to being self-sufficient. So we want to move you along, make you better at conversion rate optimization and digital marketing, and then send you on your way. We don't think that conversion rate optimization is something that you can outsource or ultimately long-term should outsource. Again, I mentioned some of our clients. If you want more information, just visit our website. So enough of that. Let's just jump right into the content. I want to start with what I see as kind of a failure of vision. And all of us at online marketing are standing at a sort of crossroads, if you will. We're deciding what does online marketing mean, and there's really a huge divergence when you say to someone, well, what is content marketing? Content is king. What are we going to do for content marketing? And 98% of us choose the wrong road. I could have used the blue pill, red pill analogy from The Matrix, but that's only for you science fiction nerds. So here we are at the crossroads. 98% of us, unfortunately, choose this road, noisemaking. That's really what a lot of our content marketing amounts to. We may think we're doing things that are important and we're focused on the process of it, but here's basically what we do. I put this in the category of broadcasting at people still. Yeah, we use different channels. It's no longer on TV or on radio or publishing in a newspaper. Anyone know what a newspaper is? Uh, but it's still broadcasting. It's pumping out content. I don't really care what kind of content. We're all guilty of this. Infographics, the very webinar we're listening to, and we do webinars as well. White papers, blog posts, videos, content. Here it is, content, as if it's a thing all on its own. And our focus is on editorial calendars. How often do we update our blog? How often does that newsletter go out? Can we get it syndicated somewhere else? Can we recycle that content and get more leverage out of it? Maybe change the title slightly and get it republished somewhere else, or get it up on somebody else's blog, or get someone to link to it and get exposure that way. So what we try to do often is to engineer virality and popularity. I've seen all kinds of stuff like how to make your content go viral. I'm sure many of you have seen that. And the bottom line is, if people knew how to make hits in anything, in pop music, in movies, and social media marketing, we'd all be getting rich. But the fact is, it's a very random event that's often based on just happenstance. Oh, you know, our blog post got picked up by TechCrunch. All of a sudden, we had a bazillion people visiting our website. Well, maybe if you're doing influencer marketing effectively, you can make sure there's a higher chance of getting picked up by Huffington Post or TechCrunch or Mashable or whatever. But that's still trying to skew the odds in your favor and not some kind of guarantee. So we're chasing these big hits and these one-time spikes of traffic to our website, and we're counting that activity. Hey, look how many times our stuff was retweeted. Look how many likes we got on this, or how many comments. So we're using these kind of intermediate success metrics. We're measuring the very media that's delivering it. But ultimately, that's not why we're putting out content. And so you get into these endless debates, and I'm hoping that a lot of you right now are nodding your heads because you recognize this and how you do business. But a lot of times we get asked, well, what is the ROI of content? What's the ROI of doing a blog post? What's the ROI of social media or our webinar series? We have a hard time justifying this and tying it back to real business outcomes that we care about. Or maybe you care about those intermediate metrics, but let me tell you something, and I'm sure you already know this, your executive team doesn't. They only care about the bottom line. They speak one language, and that language is money. How much money did you make us? Can you tie it back to money? To decrease costs, increased revenues, higher profitability? What's your return on this activity? Should we be investing these resources into something else that's even more productive for our business? Now, you may think that those are unreasonable questions to ask, but believe me, as a business owner myself, they're not. That is what you should be focused on. Now, I'm not talking about, maybe you have other missions like education or social philanthropy, other components besides just the pure kind of capitalist motivation. But as far as having a viable business, at some point you still have to somehow turn all of your activities and expenditures of resources into real money, profitable dollars. So what's the alternative to that? I mean, we know what not to do. This is the beginning of finding your way back into the light, being of service. And if you think about great service experiences you've had, have you ever been to a really high-class hotel and you walk up and they already know your name, they greet you that way, they ask you what you want, they cater to your every need? Ideally, it's almost anticipating what you want. It's predicting and giving thought and care and attention like a butler would that knows you really well to everything you need. Now, how often do you feel on the receiving end of content marketing that's how you're being treated? No, it's hey, read this article. 30 top experts tell you their biggest mistake in content marketing. These roundup things, or we're all doing it, and we know it's self-serving, and we know all we're doing is trying to outshout the other people doing content marketing and other companies doing it. Being of service is a very, very different mindset. Being of service means going out there and starting with your visitors, with the people you're trying to reach. So this is kind of a quick cheat sheet on how you can tell whether you took the left fork in the road or the right fork. This is what it means to do real content marketing as far as I'm concerned. As I mentioned, we start from the needs of our visitors, not the business. And this is probably the hardest thing for us as marketers to do. It's to get out of that, what I call inside out thinking. We're looking at things from the perspective of our company, not the visitors out there. And so to do that 180-degree turn and to think from outside in is very, very difficult for lots of reasons. Right now, you're in your company. You're probably sitting next to somebody else in your online marketing or marketing department. You're talking most of the time to people inside the company. Well, let me ask you, when was the last time you were out there in the trenches, if you will, interacting with real prospects or customers of your business? How often do you in the marketing department actually do that? How often are you getting first-hand information? Or at least secondhand, but serving your visitors or talking to your customer service folks about what are the real conversations they're having on the phone and that sort of thing. We're not really focused on our visitors. That's our biggest sin, folks, that we're really focused on our business. This is how we present ourselves to the world. This is how we're going to these are our divisions, these are our services, this is our stuff, buy our stuff. Basically, that's it. Or, hey, you're thinking of buying $1 million, marketing technology platform. Sure, get started. I see like billion-dollar businesses with a get started button. Really, it's that easy? All I have to do is get started? Well, no, that's what you want me to do. You want to be a greedy marketer and squeeze the bottom of the sales funnel. You want that lead, you want that sale. You don't really want to be of service, because right now I can guarantee you the vast majority of you are ignoring your early stage prospects. You only care about the ones that are ready to pop, that are ripe, that are again down funnel. And the fact is, and there's all kinds of research about this, 60 to 80% of the buyer journey these days, and this depends on your industry and also the generation of the people that you're trying to serve. Millennials are more likely to be like this. 60 to 80% want a self-service experience, right? So if you are not talking to them, if you are not going to be considered when it's time to make up their mind, no matter how much content you pump out or how highly you place your ads and pay for them in pay-per-click marketing or something like that, if they're not ready, if you don't help get them ready, if you don't help ripen them up, if you don't focus on early stage prospects, you're going to have a big, big problem, because that's where the vast majority of people are at any given point. And you're probably thinking, well, I can't monetize that. Actually, yes, you can. So let's continue on. Another characteristic of real, what I call conversion-focused content marketing, is it must be of excellent quality. So we can do all those roundup articles from experts, or we can do a quick react to a popular video on YouTube and call that a blog post. 2 sentences. Hey, I agree with this very popular video, or I violently disagree, and that's my editorial stance. That's throwaway stuff. And a lot of times I also see content marketers focusing on seasonal stuff. Hey, it's Thanksgiving. Let's do some kind of Thanksgiving theme. What am I thankful for this season? And it's just this kind of dumb idea of the minute. It's not excellent quality. It's throwaway stuff. And I think my friend Andy Crestodino, who's also spoken at a conversion conference and runs the Content Jam event in Chicago, which is excellent. Andy writes one very, very detailed, deep article every couple of weeks. That's it, because he puts the depth in. He doesn't crank out 2 or 3 blog posts a day or even a week. He has one really, really in-depth, high-quality article. How to market your event online. How to do 10 things you should take off of your website immediately to improve its effectiveness. And they're really well thought through. You can see he puts the time and the care. And that kind of stuff is very, very high quality. And so you need to think, if I were to turn this in as an assignment in school, what grade would I get? If it's not an A or an A+, shouldn't be doing it. And that's a hard discipline to have. We're all busy. but that's no excuse for pumping out mediocre stuff. It not only won't get remembered, it actually often reflects poorly on you. Other qualities of conversion-focused content marketing are its durability and laser focus. And I've already talked about the notion of kind of having throwaway or seasonal stuff or lightweight things. It's got to be something that stands the test of time. You know why? Because for your visitors, the same visitors in the same situation that might be interested somehow in your products or services, they have durable problems. Their problems that they're coming to you to solve are the same. So you should be focusing on not stuff that has a short shelf life or an expiration date or a deadline or is going to be passé tomorrow and not useful anymore, but focus on the durable stuff, again, through the eyes of your visitors. And another thing you can do is make it as specific as possible. Let me give you an example. So we work with many educational, for-profit educational companies like Kaplan University or Strayer, University of Phoenix, folks like that. And a lot of times they want to reach very specific audiences. For example, if you're a vet and you can get government benefits to go back to school, that would be an example. Or if you're a single mom working and you want to improve your skills and kind of get off the gerbil wheel and get into a more promising career, right? Well, instead of saying, here's our guide to college admissions, generic and suitable for everyone, you could instead say the single working mom's guide to a better life. You see the laser focus of that? Now, if somebody's in that situation, sure, it doesn't apply to anybody, but if it does apply to you, do you see how that would resonate with you? So basically, you can think of us being on this continuum when we're surfing around the web and inundated in infinite amounts of information. On one spectrum, or on one end of this continuum, is this kind of generic thing. What is this, and is it even appropriate for me? And on the other end of it is this very, very focused experience. Wow, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. Where have you been all my life? Right? It's a solution to our problem. It's a recognition that they're talking specifically to us. And it's very, very important to have that laser focus and not dilute our stuff into kind of generic marketing speak that it aims at everybody and ends up pleasing nobody. And so the laser focus is a key component. I suggest creating splinters, creating maybe variations, maybe 70% of your content for these audiences is the same, but the editorial tone and a couple of concerns that make it relevant or that kind of amplify the importance to it for a specific market segment or situation that people are in. The laser focus is a critical component of this. Another important way to see if you're doing content marketing properly is it's integrated with your marketing technology. Now, there's a conference that's coming up in San Francisco run by my buddy Scott Brinker called MarTech, and it's all about marketing technology. There's a huge transformation going on right now, and marketing is in large part getting automated, or rather, there's enabling technologies that make it easier for you to do your job. And so the common elements of that are things like your content management system, email marketing and marketing automation, third-party data append, getting information about anonymous visitors coming to your site, behavioral targeting, and actually changing your site experience on the fly, personalization, of course, split testing technology and conversion rate optimization, surveying, usability tools. In fact, if you're interested in some of the marketing technology around conversion rate optimization, I suggest you go to our informational website, conversionninjatoolbox.com. Again, that's conversionninjatoolbox.com. We've cataloged about 600 companies in that ecosystem of conversion rate optimization. So if you're not tracking this stuff through analytics, if you're not personalizing your emails or web experiences based on what you already know about the people showing up on your site or who are on your mailing list or who may already be clients of yours, if you're not really getting the maximum value out of it, again, it's more generic for your visitors and it's not as high value for you. We've seen increases of 500 to 1,000% on those segments where we can target the messaging and create laser-focused experiences for people. And it might be as simple as new visitors, return visitors, or current customers versus prospects, or repeat customers versus regular customers. It's pretty easy to find those segments in your analytics. The question is, are you serving up different experiences with marketing technology to these folks? And measuring it is so key. What gets measured gets done. This is one of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I believe. What gets measured gets done. So the question is, what can you measure? Or are you just pumping this stuff out and measuring likes, measuring shares? If that's it, if you can't measure it down to the ultimate downstream conversion that matters to your business, which might be that lead, which might be that trial, which might be that initial sale, then, or ideally to lifetime value, then it's not real conversion-focused content marketing. All right, well, hopefully I've given you some prerequisites for this. Let me give you a few more quick observations about it. The reason that self-service is important is it leaves us in control. And this is, I mentioned earlier, especially true of millennials. Millennials don't want to be sold. They have an aversion to hard selling. And at least in the workforce, I'm sure this is just true of the demographic in general, by 2025, seems like a long time ago, it's not only 9 years from now, millennials are going to represent 75% of the workforce. The boomers are retiring. The Xers like me are hanging on by our fingertips and claws, and the millennials are kind of marching in. They're an even bigger demographic slice or cohort than the baby boom generation was. They're the children of the baby boom. So they like self-service. They're comfortable online. They would rather use an app than have your salesperson call them. And so it's important to cater to that. And content marketing fills that need of supporting that customer journey through those earlier stages where people are not comfortable talking to you yet. They'll self-select, they'll raise their hand, but yelling, you know, call our 800 number now, or fill out this form for your free consultation. And you need to make that clear that it's available on your site or your landing page, but it shouldn't be the centerpiece. It shouldn't be the call to action when someone's saying, is this right for me? I don't know. I don't want to talk to a sales representative when I'm just trying to figure out if it's right for me, or what are my alternatives, or why are you better than somebody else for solving that problem. All of those earlier steps have to be answered in self-service mode. And, you know, again, I've heard that content is king, but guess what? Sometimes content is not the king or the queen. It's not even the joker. It just doesn't belong. So I'm going to give you kind of as a little cheat sheet, a way to look at your business and see if content marketing is actually appropriate or a good fit for you. And this is where content marketing works best. If you have expensive items, there's a higher risk, much higher risk. And this is especially true of business-to-business marketing or professional services or investing in some kind of expensive technology, or if you're buying a house, you know, these are not trivial matters. This is not the same as going down to 7-Eleven and buying a box of Tic Tacs. So the more expensive your service or product is, the more important it is to provide supporting information in the form of content. Another thing is rare purchasing frequency. We work with a company that does drought-tolerant landscapes and rooftop solar installations for residential customers. Well, presumably you're only going to redo your landscaping into desertscape once, or you're only going to put solar array on your roof one time. It's not something you do commonly. It's not like going to the supermarket and picking out your favorite brand of toothpaste every couple of weeks. Right? It's rare purchasing frequency, and the less frequently I do it, the more I need the education, the more I need to understand about it in the first place and get exposed to it. So content, again, fills that educational need, making sure that I make a good decision. Another characteristic where content marketing works best is when you have lots of facets to what you're doing and complex trade-offs. So, for example, we work with iCruise, which is online cruise booking reservations. And as you can imagine, the decision to book a cruise is not a simple one. It's like, who's got the cheaper price? Well, no, it's who's going on the cruise. Do they have accommodations for my kids, or are they going to be driving me crazy? Can grandma roll around in the wheelchair on the deck? Um, what dates? From what ports? Do they include airline tickets to get you to the port of departure? What is the itinerary, and what are the activities available at the destinations on the ship? Uh, what's their reputation and customer service like? There's a lot of trade-offs. It's not like there's an answer. This is the right cruise for you. You have to figure it out. So getting, again, educated in the form of content about the multiple and complex trade-offs, if that's describing your business, then you need to do content marketing. If it's not, if it's really that simple, do you need an 8 gig USB thumb drive or a 16 gig? That's not a multiple decision, or a complex decision with multiple trade-offs. Not at all. So if your stuff's simple, what do you need content marketing for? It's obvious. That's the point. You don't need to explain it to me, right? Another characteristics where content really works best is a high level of domain knowledge required for the decision. And what I mean by that is, we're not experts in everything. And in some cases, like refinancing your jumbo mortgage, it's good to talk to a broker, because they might say, hey, you really want to split that up into a smaller mortgage and maybe a home equity line instead of doing a jumbo mortgage, because that's going to be a cheaper average blended mortgage rate overall. Well, I wouldn't know that. I mean, I just refinanced my mortgage after my house remodel, and so I needed to have that domain knowledge from mortgage brokers, from thought leaders in that industry, if you will. And if your product or service, whether it's legal or complex financial stuff, or real estate requires very specialized knowledge in that domain, content marketing is critical. You really can't do without it. And I already mentioned some of these, of course, are overlapping. They're not mutually exclusive. But one other aspect is the business to business. Almost all business to business decisions involve large amounts of money. Well, it's not true. Maybe your cable, your business internet, or your phone service, it's not that big a deal. I mean, they're all roughly comparable, right? Or your security system in your business. But if you're investing in professional services, or if you're upgrading significant technology, you could get fired for making the wrong decision. And so business is inherently risky. The larger the purchase, the more people are going to get involved, and that's just the name of the game. And there's two types of risk that you want to eliminate there. One is kind of the company's risk of choosing you, and that's usually done through things like requests for proposal or competitive bid situations. And then there's the kind of individual perceived risk of everybody else involved in that buying decision. Basically covering their butts. That's what business to business is all about. So if you say, hey, here's case studies, for example, or here's happy clients, here's video testimonials of people in your industry that had a good outcome by working with us or using our products, those are all things where content marketing is really, really critical. So look at this, see how many of these boxes you check. Maybe you can come up, please type into the question and answer pane other ideas for situations where content works best. But basically, if you don't have most of those, or some of those at least, content marketing may not be for you at all. All right, well, we've talked about what not to do. We've talked about the characteristics of what good marketing looks like. Let me actually show you how to do it right. So let's dig our way out of this hole. Again, the first thing to realize is that you need to help your visitors accomplish their goals. Now, one of the things you should do is what we call a content, is a service we have, but you can do it informally for yourself, a content for conversion audit. It starts with your visitors. Who are they? What are the important roles of people showing up at your website? What tasks are they trying to solve? What specific things are they trying to accomplish? They're not there to consume content unless you're TMZ or something like that and just want to keep up with the latest gossip. Who are they and what are they there to do? Once you've defined that, then you can go through and say, for every stage in that person's buying journey, or for that task they're trying to accomplish, do we have stuff that gets them across the gap, the content gap? Or are we asking them to basically do this standing broad jump across the chasm instead of having a rope bridge to get across? So what is our supporting content for the early stage people? Where are our guides? Where are our comparisons? Where are our video reviews? What do people care about earlier in the process especially? You're going to find a lot of holes there. Or do we just basically expect them to show up and buy? It's not likely. And the ones that are doing it are a tiny fraction of who could be doing it. So don't be happy even if you have a profitable online business. Look at your customers or prospects, the whole buyer journey, and identify gaps in the web experience and what kinds of supporting, downloadable, viewable, other content is necessary, what kind of follow-up email sequences, and so on. And then create a prioritized list of what needs to be done. It may be that you actually have a lot of this content sitting around, but chances are, if you're like a lot of our clients, you have it buried deeply in the site and not discoverable. Or it may be too long or too short, or it may be scattered in several places and you expect me to kind of pull it together by navigating all over the site in a non-linear fashion. Not going to happen. I'm not going to invest that much time. Or maybe it just needs to be edited down to have a different editorial tone or put into a downloadable ebook, 7 biggest mistakes when choosing your online marketing agency. Well, you already have, you've talked about that in blog posts. Maybe you need to put it in an ebook or do a webinar on it. So the important thing here is to have the right kind of content for conversion map. And then this is something that's also critical. You need to pay attention to what I call the connective tissue. That means how you flow from one piece of content to another. Do you have dead-end pages on your website where you basically just say, consume this content and nothing, just go away. We're done with you, or hit the back button, where you didn't think through the flow. What would somebody who's read this page want to do next? Where's your call to action at the bottom of the page? Where's your next ask? Where's your next piece of deeper or more specialized content that you're offering? And along with this, and this is a very, very important nuance, comes what I call your gating strategy. Should you offer content for free? Should you charge for it? Should you ask for information in exchange for it? This webinar, I mean, you didn't have to give up a lot of information, but presumably you had to give your email address, right? That's gating this. I could have just had you sign up for a webinar and not even ask you for your email. Just start viewing it now. That's actually an option, right? It's technically possible. So you have to really think through at what stage in the customer journey should you be gating content? What should you be asking for? How do you collect that information? Another kind of critical observation is your site architecture itself as content. Most of us think of content as separate from the site, happening in other channels, happening in social media, happening on our YouTube channel, happening on our Facebook page where we post articles, or maybe we think of it as downloadable or consumable assets on our website. But we don't think of the website itself as content. And the key thing that I want you to think about is your site architecture. If you design it properly, you do it from a user-centered perspective. Again, if you know who the important roles of people are showing up on your site and what their tasks are or what they're trying to accomplish, you can break down your site into something that in fact is giving you market research. So let me give you an example. I'll go back to one of our educational clients. So if you say it's like, hey, I'm a working professional, or I currently work and I want to go back to school, or I'm not currently working and I want to further my education. Well, those are two different types of people, right? If you just ask, which one are you? If you have me raise my hand and self-select, then I go into the site for the working adults that are going back to school, right? Different concerns. Hey, how do I finish a degree when I have a full-time job? How can I get my kids taken care of while I'm attending school? How do I finance this? I mean, those are all, I don't qualify for student loans because I'm too old or whatever. So those folks have a completely different set of concerns. But guess what? If they showed up on your homepage or your landing page and you asked them, Are you a working adult, or are you still a student and want to further your education? By clicking on one of those two options and going deeper into your site, they've already given you huge market research. You know that 70% of people that are showing up, for example, are working professionals going back to school. Great, that's a form of market research. And then among those, you can ask, do you have kids? Yes or no? And then get them to a sub part of the site that again addresses those concerns about child care or how to do that with kids, or the single parent's guide to getting your degree, going back to school, that sort of thing, right? So when they get to that part of the site gets more relevant. So they're getting closer to their goal, and it's resonating for them. And at the same time, and this is important for you as a marketer, you're getting market research. Just those two clicks of working adult, going back to school, and I'm a parent. Wow, you can message me all kinds of ways till Sunday. So since I've already kind of gotten this information, or have gotten to the right part of the site, as soon as you get my email down the road, you can start messaging me in very, very specific ways. None of this generic crap. And that's going to make your marketing more effective. So redesign your site. Do it from a role and task user-centered perspective, and you're going to get free market research as long as you're tagging it behind the scenes and using that information later when I do raise my hand and identify and give you my email. But if I visit a particular portion of your site, again, download something, even if I don't give you my email, 7 biggest mistakes when applying for a jumbo mortgage, for instance, you know what you can do? You can retarget me. You still don't know who I am. You still don't have my email. But your retargeting shouldn't be your generic display ad retargeting when I leave your site and see display ads on other people's sites. It should be specific to the parts of the site I've already visited. And that retargeting is going to be that much more effective for that. So your site architecture is a critical piece of your content. And if you're not using it that way, you're throwing away a lot of value, and also misaligning what people want from you with the folks that are showing up. So you're ignoring great information, and you're not serving your visitors well. All right, well, I mentioned marketing technology a little bit. I just want to give you these are roughly in order of the typical implementation of it. You can't, unless you're a really small business, and even they have options these days, you can't get along without having what I would call a marketing technology stack. Your content management system, your workflow and approval for creating content, web analytics and tracking, testing tools to optimize parts of your site experience, marketing automation and sending out these triggered emails once you find things out about people. And as you get more advanced, this is probably usually for bigger companies, creating predictive models, knowing that, hey, people that live in Greenwich, Connecticut and visit us on the weekend are 3 times as likely to do our free trial. Great. Knowing that, I can have all kinds of pay-per-click campaigns, pay more for that traffic, identify those people, personalize the site experience to them, charge them higher prices if they're coming from Greenwich than I would from a less wealthy neighborhood. All of that stuff, it kind of comes through in the behavioral targeting, the personalization of your site experience. Again, I want to emphasize that you don't have to do all of this stuff out of the gate, but this is rather something that's more of a kind of roadmap of the kinds of marketing technologies you should be thinking about to support your content and personalization and making it hyper relevant. All right, let's talk a little bit about tracking and measurement. I measured that as well. I mentioned that as well. What gets measured gets done. Just some things to talk about as you're creating content. Remember I talked about gating and making sure that you ask for the right information at the right time, and don't ask for information when you don't deserve it, when you haven't earned the right to ask for it, or if the content is self-serving. So what you need to do is construct your visitor profile over time via what I call progressive disclosure. Ask me for nothing, just ask me for site navigation at first, right? I've already told you a couple of things by navigating through your site a certain way. Next, have me watch a webinar. If I want the webinar replay, maybe then ask me for an email. If I'm ready to get a consultation, or a trial, that's when you can ask me a little more information, okay? Or if your business is local, saying, hey, where are you? So we can put you in touch with local representatives, that, in the right context, asking for that information. But basically, don't expect me to give you all of that information up front. You're going to have to build it piece by piece over multiple interactions with me. So if you, again, kind of create your content dynamically, this is another key to tracking, you can string this together and make sure that you don't lose this information. Here's an example. Let's say there's a downloadable guide of some kind. And at the end of it, you were smart. You have a call to action page, says, here, go to this landing page, sign up for something. That's your next call to action after we've consumed the content. Well, guess what? That link to the landing page should be dynamically created on the fly. So you use dynamic PDF creation, server side on your website, and you encode that link with information. Now you know when I came, what my browser environment was, the fact that I'm the same person that comes back, all that's tagged in the link, and how long it took me to come back and click through to that landing page. And all of a sudden now your dynamically created content is being tracked, and you're learning all of this information about delays and latencies and likelihoods of conversion from certain pieces, and you're not throwing away the information I gave you earlier. And based on that, you can start with, like I said, basic content changing rules, just simple segments, new visitor, return visitors. Hey, guess what? Maybe you don't want to do that exit pop-up on my second visit. I've already seen it and dismissed it. Simple rule, right? It's built into exit pop-up software, things like Bounce Exchange. Well, you have to set that up, though, and make these basic distinctions. If you're in an e-commerce site, hey, welcome back. You didn't buy anything last time, but here's the categories you looked at, here's the products you looked at, and here's what's in your cart. You're making it real easy for me to pick up where I left off. And I'm a big fan of, again, what Scott Brinker from Ion Interactive calls marketing applications. Little guides and wizards say, hey, let us customize this for you, or let's see if this is right for you. And then people will customize it to their situation, get some kind of output to that quiz or wizard, and then you do just say, hey, would you like me to email you that? Guess what? You just not only got my email address and got a good pretext for doing it, but you learned a lot about me. I put skin in the game. I told you about my specific situation. Again, a form of market research. So make these little wizards, quizzes, marketing applications throughout your website to collect information. And then you can use that aggregate information as its own form of marketing knowledge. All right, well, we've covered a lot. I'm looking forward to the Q&A. So again, I want to encourage you all right now, if you have questions or comments, if you think I'm on point or completely off in left field, challenge me. Let's talk. As Quinn mentioned, Arnie Ken, the founder of Vertical Measures, is going to be one of our speakers, a highly rated return speaker, in fact, at the Conversion Conference. If you're not familiar with Conversion Conference, it's the industry conference for conversion rate optimization. It's not run by vendors or agencies or software companies. It's for the whole industry. We've had 26 shows since 2010 here and in Europe. This is our only US show this year. May 18th and 19th, we're going to have 4 parallel tracks, some fantastic keynotes and pre-conference workshops. If you want to learn about direct response copywriting, usability, testing, neuromarketing, specific applications to lead generation or e-commerce, it's all there, and you can create this custom program, and you'll drink from the fire hose from hearing in-depth sessions from the best conversion optimizers in the world. You'll also have a lot of fun, I promise. We have some great networking events in my infamous after party in the presidential suite. So spread the word, please. Go to conversionconference.com. It's still the early bird rate right now, under $1,000 for 2 very full days. Your head will explode, and I promise you can take it back to your company and make a lot of money. If you want to reach out to me, it's very easy. I'm pretty sociable, so I'm going to leave this slide up and throw it back to Quinn for her to kind of soft pitch some Q&A to us.
Yeah, so we have some time for questions, so keep throwing them at me. I'll take them here or on Twitter with the hashtag VMWebinar. So our first question, Tim, and thank you for all this information. You're definitely telling us a lot. And I think a lot of this is really great to kind of take a step forward with your contrarian view to content marketing, but not so contrary. I tend to agree with a lot of it. So I think you talked a lot about, well, not a lot, but you mentioned lead scoring. So could you maybe talk a little bit about the best practices that you see coming with lead scoring? When can you do it? What situations are good for it? And what are some best practices for lead scoring?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Lead scoring sounds really difficult. It's not. It's basically saying take all the information you know about your visitors and then track which ones ultimately ended up buying or trying or whatever your call to action is from you. So let's just use um, a sign-up scenario. You want someone to do a free trial of something. Well, the people that did do a free trial, you go back and you look at them and you say, hey, what marketing campaigns did they come from? Was that from Twitter, from pay-per-click, from downloading an ebook? You can also look at, hey, did they come from mobile or did they come from desktop? On mobile, it's a very important distinction. Were they Apple users or Android users? And then you can see, based on the percentages of those folks, which ones have the highest value. You may find out that mobile Apple users that came from sponsored Facebook posts you did are actually 10 times as likely to convert as your average visitors. So what you can do is you can very simply build these kind of predictive models saying, based on all of the factors I know about visitors, which is why I keep talking about tracking and trying to find out other additional information about them, how much better or worse are they than my average visitor? And then you actually start personalizing content when you detect somebody on in these high promise buckets of visitors, then you treat them differently. It's kind of like the Las Vegas idea of whales. Somebody's going to spend a lot of money and I know their characteristics. I'll fly them out there on a jet. I'll give them the limousine. I'll let them, put them up in the suites, all in the hopes that they drop a lot of money because I know what the profile of my whales are, and I don't really care about all of the retail people pulling the slot machine handle on the casino floor. It's the same idea. Understand where the high value segments are based on what you know about them, which is their browser environment variables, their behavior on past visits on your site, and any information that you know about them through marketing applications or interactive widgets on your site.
Awesome. And we have a question from Will about content and what's valuable. So he asks, what would you consider a content hierarchy? Would you consider infographics more valuable than blog posts over ebooks? What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
Yeah, that's a. I would say I used to think about content in the form of the containers, and it's really the containers aren't important. What I mean by that is there are certain media that are best for certain parts of the buying journeys. For example, if I'm getting educated, I want a really deep download. I want a downloadable ebook to find out all about it, right? If I want to see a how-to, a lot of times video is the appropriate thing for that. Or if I want to generate strong emotions, being able to have moving people, smiling people, music, and creating a little kind of MTV style video might be the best thing if you're doing, say, event promotion. So it really depends on the context and the stage of the buying journey. But one thing I would warn you against is organizing your content on your site. Many of you probably have a resources section that says, read our blogs about this topic, or watch videos, or download stuff, or go to our calculator section. You're classifying it by the container or the content type. Don't do that. Do it by topic or stage of the buyer journey. So inside the site, if you're talking to me about early stage homeowners, well, you should have the "Can I afford it" calculator, and you should have the video of first-time home buyer putting how to buy your first home without being screwed, and have a checklist of how to sell your home quickly. So it'd be context specific, not content type specific.
Awesome. I like that. Don't focus on the container. I'm going to remember that. A question from Jared. Could you talk a bit more about dynamic content and server-side information on PDFs for tracking? I know you mentioned this and being able to track someone in terms of even the lead scoring and just how they move and go through your navigation.
Yeah, so let me give you a specific kind of example of how that works. So we did use this for one of our, again, EDU or educational lead generation clients. They came to the website and they took the I'm a working professional going back to school while I work. They went down another leg, which was again, I'm a working parent, or I'm a single working parent, even specific. So what we did is then, download your single parent's guide to going back to school. That had some generic stuff about the university. It had available degree programs. It had specific sections, another piece that was added to the PDF for working professionals and how to coexist with that. And then it had another specific section about how to do this as a single parent. And so we kind of put the PDF together out of several pieces. And in addition to that, like I said, the important thing is any outbound links, any calls to action or follow-up stuff, those need to be tagged with all of the information that you currently know about that person. All of that content I just spoke about, plus their browser environment, when they downloaded it, all of that needs to be encoded so that when they follow that link, you can pick that up on the other end. And you know it's the same person. So all that can be done with server-side dynamic PDF creation software. There's many different solutions for that out there. It depends on what content management system and technical environment you want to plug it into. But that's the basic idea.
Awesome. And a question from Twitter, Tim, from Thomas. He says, can you talk a little bit more about the importance of case studies, testimonials, and white papers in B2B marketing plans? I know those are some of our favorite content types at Vertical Measures, but love to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, so again, the thing to realize about any kind of B2B marketing is it's all driven by cover your ass. CYA, okay? No, you don't want the company to hurt and you don't want to lose your job. So basically, the default position on B2B services is no. And you have to overcome that by creating trust. And testimonials are a great form of trust, written and video. One of the things that we do is if somebody ever says anything nice about us on a client call, we say, hey, would you mind, kind of saying that in writing, and we actually spit a slightly modified version back at them and say, is this okay if we use this as a public quote? So you're making it easy for them to give you that content or that testimonial. Or can you just say that again to a webcam, spend 15 seconds, I don't care if it's high production quality, just say that nice thing or that specific thing you just said. Would you be willing to do that? And in the course of it, after they just said it, when they're still hot about you or happy about you, they're usually glad to do those kind of things. And you turn those into highlight reels. One other important thing with B2B is people really care only about their vertical. So if you say, I have an employee tracking solution and it fills all your HR needs, right? And it's the same. It works for everybody. You can do it for any service or any business. Well, the problem is if I'm a restaurant owner versus someone running an accounting firm versus a manufacturing company that makes bar stools, I don't think of all of those things as interchangeable. So I want to hear from the other restaurant owners. So you have to create specific content down to the vertical industries or at least segments of, so you can say, people just like you in your industry have had a good outcome with us. A lot of times B2B clients or prospects won't make the translation in their head. They don't buy that parts and that your stuff is generic and will work for them as well. They want specific good outcomes in their vertical.
Great. Well, I'm going to remember that as well on my notes. CYA is B2B marketing is cover your ass. Good to know.
B2B equals CYA. Yes, please tweet that.
Yeah, we will. I got another question from Melissa. She says, I'm really good, or my business is very good at generating top of the funnel leads. Do you have any recommendations on middle of the funnel content marketing or even bottom of the funnel?
Yeah, I think the key to the middle of the funnel is to do marketing automation, essentially understand who those people are and do automated follow-up sequences to them. Again, people don't want to talk to you yet. Mm-hmm. And you can't cold call prospects that are too early stage because it's not cost effective. So that's why whether you're using For B2C, it would be something like Infusionsoft. Mid-market would be things like Marketo, Eloqua at the top end on the enterprise. Some sort of a green rope for small businesses, another excellent option. Some sort of marketing automation. Now, there's a lot of email service providers that are pretending to do marketing automation, but I would go with the marketing automation companies instead. I mean, yeah, yes, they all use email, but the way you set up campaigns and manage lists and trigger events are much more sophisticated in real marketing automation systems.
Great. And then we'll take one last question from Tara. She asked, interested in what you think about seasonal content. I know you mentioned to be careful with it. However, we're in the insurance business, and a lot of useful information for our consumers is actually seasonally related, like how to get your home ready for spring, driving in the winter, etc. So what are your thoughts on that?
Right, so that's different. That means that if you create something for how to drive safely in the sleet and snow, and you make that your default downloadable guide on your page when people from Michigan see it and when you know the weather is bad. And by the way, you really can do that today with personalization. It's really not that hard. If you can combine that weather information, location information, and content, that's durable. That means you'll still be able to reuse that guide next winter. The fact that the content itself is seasonal isn't the problem. I'm talking about, he's done like, oh, today's St. Patrick's Day, so let's have a St. Patrick's Day promotion kind of bullshit. Pardon my French.
Well, thank you, Tim. I'm glad you decided not to get a pint of Guinness during this time, but I hope you have a good St. Patrick's Day. We really appreciate it. And of course, as you can see the slide up here, May 18th and 19th is Tim's conference, Conversion Con. We've been before. We think it's a great event. Our CEO, Arnie Ken, will be there along with Tim, and I know Larry Kim from WordStream. So it should be a really good event. So thank you again, Tim. We really appreciate you being here today.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thanks everyone for coming. We do these every month. Our next one will be on April 21st, and it will be talking about the PPC life cycle and how to increase your revenue. So thanks again for coming, and we'll go ahead and follow up with everyone via email tomorrow morning with the slides and the recording. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Don't have too much fun, or do have a lot of fun. Thanks again for coming.